what sets people apart? The people that are extremely prepared and confident and comfortable moving into retirement from those that are maybe calling it a little tight, or worst case, someone has to work longer than they had anticipated because they're not quite prepared. Well, honestly, there's two things that I have seen. First is debt, or the lack of it, for those that are really, really prepared. That just takes so much pressure off, whether it's not having a mortgage, which is incredible, whether it's, of course, credit cards, car loans. Not having debt is just an incredible asset when it comes to being prepared. And number two, and what we're going to focus on today, is the TSP. The TSP is so crucial. And honestly, that, in my opinion, is what I've seen is what sets people apart. It's the difference maker between people that are really, really comfortable into retirement and comfortable and confident about their prospects financially and otherwise moving into retirement, from those that maybe aren't quite there, right? And let me tell you why. But I guess before that, welcome to this episode. My name is Dallin Hawes. It is always great to spend time with you guys as federal employees, helping you find the answers that you need to your questions to retire confident. So back to our topic. The reason your TSP is such a big factor, a big difference maker, and really is one of the big things that does make the difference, is because the other parts of your retirement are more out of your control. For example, your Social Security. Well, you control, of course, to some degree, how long you work, right? That's a factor, and that does control to some degree, of course, your Social Security. And when you take Social Security, right, there's a few things you can control, but for the most part, it's calculated, but on this big equation, depending on how long you work and your salary and stuff like that. Same for your pension, right? You can control how long you work for your pension, but there's limited control there as well, right? But your TSP is the one where you have a ton of control, and that's why it's the difference maker that sets people apart. And today, we're going to talk about what you should be doing with your TSP, how much you should be saving into your TSP so that you can be comfortable and confident in retirement. Now, within your TSP, there are really three different things that you can control. First, you can control how you invest it. That's huge, okay? Second, you can control whether you use the Roth TSP or not. That's tax-wise, it's a big deal. And the third is you can control how much you contribute into the TSP every year. Now, today we are not going to be talking about the first two. We are not going to be talking about how to invest your TSP, and we are not going to be talking about whether you should use the Roth TSP or not. If you want to check those out, go to the article on my website associated with this piece of content. You can find it under blog or under the topic of TSP. You can find it there. It's all there. And there'll be some links to some articles about those other topics. But today, we're going to focus on how much you should be saving to get you to where you want to go, right? Now, if you kind of look up online, there are a number of rules of thumb that you can find. For example, Dave Ramsey, the super famous finance guy, right? He's got his very, very popular radio show. His rule of thumb is 15%. You should be saving at least 15% of your money for retirement, whether that's in an IRA, TSP, whatever. He says 15%. Now, I think a rules of thumb can be helpful to some degree, but we have to know that, okay, there's going to be different needs depending on your life and your goals. So, for example, your TSP, in the vast majority of cases, is going to be a supplement above and beyond your pension and Social Security. Well, what percentage of your income is your pension and Social Security going to take up, right? Do your own math. Find out your numbers. It's like, okay, what percentage of my pre-retirement income is my pension going to cover, right? What about your Social Security? How much is that going to cover? And how much does your TSP have to fill the gap so that you have at least the amount of income you had while you're working, right? And for example, with Social Security, how the system is set up is that the lower your income is, the higher percentage of your pre-retirement income Social Security is going to replace. And again, if you check out the article associated with this on my website, there's a chart that shows at different income levels what percentage of your pre-retirement income Social Security is probably going to replace. And long story short, if you're on the lower earning side, then Social Security can replace up to 50% of your income, pre-retirement income. If you're on the higher side, well, it's probably only going to replace 20%, right? Ish, or less, depending if your income is even higher, right? And so if you're on the higher earning side, then honestly, if you want to keep the same amount of income in retirement, then you may need to be saving a higher percentage of your income, because a less percentage is going to come from things like Social Security, right? So there's other needs where if everyone just saved 15%, well, that might work for some, but not for others. So there's things you have to look at. You have to look at, what are your goals? What are your goals? Do you want to just merely replace your pre-retirement income? And for a lot of people, that's a great place to start. Do you want to potentially have a little more income in retirement, maybe to do more trips and to do more whatever it is? What are your goal? Is your goal to give money to charity, to give money to your kids, have a bunch of money left over, right? What is your goal? And then from there, you may want to ratchet up your savings to make that happen, right? Because, as you know, everyone has different needs, and based on those needs is what you should base how much you're saving. So again, I wish I had a specific percentage for you. I wish I had a number say, hey, you should be saving 17.5% in your TSP and you're gonna be okay. Well, that doesn't exist, unfortunately. So what it comes down to is today, this is what you should do. You should save as much as you can. As much as you can, okay? And of course, you don't want to go overboard. You want to be reasonable. You don't want to just live on rice and beans until you retire, okay? That's not the goal either. But as much as you possibly can. If it's 15%, great. If it's more, great. If it's a little less, great. As long as it's the best you can do. And then over time, you want to try to ratchet that up as you can. First, you know, as you get raises, as things change, right? Maybe you pay off your car, maybe you pay off your mortgage. Any extra money that comes into play, at least a portion of that should go towards retirement. Now, and if you are closer to retirement and you didn't do super well in the beginning of your career, well, you need to be catching up. You need to be serious about saving for retirement, right? If you're younger, maybe it's not an emergency, you're not retiring tomorrow, but you should still save as much as you can, because honestly, the money you put aside early has so much more time to compound. So the power of that is honestly worth a lot more. Saving 10 grand in your 20s is worth so much more than 10 grand in your 50s, because in your 20s you got 30 extra years to have it double, triple, quadruple, whatever it does, right? It is so powerful. So again, start with whatever you can. Maybe for you 15% sounds good, but maybe if you're a higher earner, hey, maybe you're gonna have to be saving more, right? And maybe you make a lot of money. Well, you can potentially try to save money in a brokerage account. Maybe you can use a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA. You want to look at the income limits there so you don't make any mistakes there. But of course, save as much as you can in your TSP. There are, of course, limits on how much you can save into the TSP. Right, in 2021, the limit is $19,500 when you're under age 50, and then $26,000 after age 50. So once you hit those limits, of course, you can't put more money into the TSP. So at that point, you're going to want to look somewhere else to save money and get it investing. So over time, regardless of what inflation does, your money is growing for you and working for you harder than hopefully you have to work. Right? That's the goal. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any thoughts on, hey, maybe share below in the comments on the YouTube channel how much you're saving and how that's working for you and how it's been compounding and growing for you over time. So have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time.